idea,
Let me see if I can get this joke.
Okay.
Oh, let me check my check.
No, it doesn't. I have no problems with it, and I can explain it fully. I know all about it. How about that? But if you want me to do it in your committee, let me know. That'll be fine.
Hey, Becky, your mic's on.
I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what y'all did, but I can hear you now.
Well, did you leave everybody? Okay.
Becky, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, but just on the telephone.
Okay, let me mute you. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, can y'all hear us now?
I can hear you.
Yes.
I can hear you, Sam.
All right.
Yes, I can.
Okay, can y'all all hear us now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Whatever we did, it worked. So, okay, so can y'all hear us?
Yes.
Becky, can you hear us?
I can. Yes.
Okay, we just can't hear you, can we? So can you unmute your phone? Or I could do it right here on my computer.
Sam, all the other people can hear me, but you can't.
Okay. Do I do anything?
I can hear you. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
y'all, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna get started.
Okay.
All right. So we'll make sure that the members here can hear, but everybody on the Zoom can hear me.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think the members can hear me here, and we'll just make sure they hear y'all as well. Ready, Ron? Okay, so we passed earlier House Bill 72, which was that we added physician to the immunity. We thought y'all could hear it, but y'all couldn't. But we did vote, and we did pass that in the subcommittee. Y'all didn't hear any of that, right?
Not a bit. What did we do?
As I said earlier, we're going to go very slow and just have a sense of humor. And as we've done for the past 10 years, the subcommittees are very informal. We want everybody to be on the same page. We want everybody to ask questions here. So we're going to continue that as we go forward. So the next bill is House Bill 73. And this is the chiropractor bill. And y'all may not have heard this earlier, but I do want to really do some big healthcare policy next session. I think this year we'll pass some legislation and some repealers, but obviously we still got this COVID issue. And so I want to work with each one of y'all this summer, fall, and look at some big issues. So again, we passed House Bill 72. We're going to go on to House Bill 73. And I'd like to recognize the lady from Forest.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Somebody's going to turn it up, I think.
What now? We good?
Turn the volume up.
Turn my volume up? Okay. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 73 is simply extends the repealer on the Board of Chiropractors to 2025. We've checked with the chiropractors. Everything has gone smoothly for them over this past several years. There were no issues. And so House Bill 73 just seeks to extend the repealer. And that is my explanation of the bill.
Okay, I thought you did good, but I'm going to hear you. So I'm gonna get you to speak up really loud.
Well, I thought y'all can't hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Becky, they heard me?
I can hear.
Okay. Okay, you got to try it one more time, lady.
Okay. House Bill 73 is seeks to extend the repealer on the Board of Chiropractors to 2025. There are no issues with the chiropractors over this last term, and so there are no changes to the bill other than to extend the repealer to July of 2025. That is my explanation of the bill, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, lady. I think everybody was in heard that very well. We heard it as well in here. So are there any questions on the repeal bill for the chiropractors? Okay, your motion is House motion to pass.
Yes.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right. Larry has, hold on one second here. Larry's got to pick something.
They wanted to say something.
Say it again, Larry.
Somebody say something.
Missy, say something, see if we can hear you better. It's something.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
No, that didn't work.
Y'all can't hear?
Maybe the longest subcommittee I've ever had.
I can hear you, Mr. Chairman.
Larry is seeing if we can fix the volume, so y'all are being very patient. Yeah. Missy, say something again.
Hello, Mr. Chairman. Hello. I think we can all of us can hear one another.
We're gonna use it. Okay, we'll make it work. Okay, so the next bill, again, y'all got the agenda in front of you, is House Bill 95. We're gonna recognize the gentleman from.
Alarm. Testing 1, 2, 3. Microphone test 1, 2, 3.
John.
Mic check 1, 2. Mic test 1, 2, 3. Mic check 1, 2. Mic test 1, 2, 3. Microphone check 1, 2. Testing 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2. Mic test 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2.
To remove the board's repealer, being that it's passed several times without any issues, we'd like to remove that. And then the second thing is getting the board to perform fingerprint background checks and allowed to change a fee to cover this cost, so the board doesn't have to incur this. It is a committee sub, and if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. If not, then I'll make a motion to pass this.
I have a question.
Okay, lady from Lincoln has a question. We're gonna, lady, you're recognized.
What is the cost?
What is the cost of the fingerprinting or the cost of?
The fingerprinting, how much are they asking for?
I'll answer the lady. Lady, this is something we will have, we'll give you an answer for when we meet tomorrow, is the full public health, what that will cost. They are requesting this, and this will be, I believe, absorbed through their local appropriation today, because
They're not asking for extra money, in other words.
If you let you think, I mean, it's on line 72, they do collect a fee from the applicants or the licensee.
But we don't know how much that is. I mean, they can set their own fee.
We will get an answer for you tomorrow or this afternoon. The intent is not to.
Okay, thank you.
Nursing home administrator, but, you know, other public health boards have the type of language, so it would be conforming to that type of language.
Okay,
But we'll get that answer for you, what they expect that cost to be, and again, I think there's going to be other boards, that have that component.
thank you.
Lady Jones,
Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to amend the proper line.
okay? Someone from Washington.
I wanted to know about the cost and the fee and all this.
Turn your microphone on.
You can turn your microphone on.
I wanted to know about the fee for the licenses.
Okay, we will get that to both y'all this afternoon or early in the morning. Again, this is addressed to us, but again, we will get that to y'all. Good questions. Any other questions from the Zooms before I recognize the Lady Jones? Okay, Lady Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Grand Board has indicated, has a charge in it. And I don't know if the committee sees that existing licensees will also have to have a background check. And I think what they're trying to get to is to background check the new applicants, and then any licensee who has some questionable previous actions that need to be investigated. So my amendment simply says that on line 62, after the word on, that we would put in new, so that it's just the new applicants. And I was, of course, is paying $600 for, you know, we'll have to pay another $150 when they haven't done anything. That's my.
Okay, further amendment. Does anybody have any questions about the amendment? And let the gentleman from Washington have a question.
Thank you, Mr. General Lady. So there's a $600 fee already to procure this license?
I think it's five or six, I can't remember, Jim, for the license for every 2 years.
So why is this already covered, covering that fee? Why would another assessment happen on top?
No, not the 600, I was saying.
No, I'm saying the assessment for that license, why would they have to go on top of that? They already have to pay that fee to get, that should be something that should be covered in it.
But
I'm gonna support you. I'm just saying, we should.
Gentleman, why would you offer them that, hold on the council, real quick.
what we need to do is not lose the appeal.
I don't want to mention rebuild it. All I'm saying is, yeah, it's included in the fee. Why why you adding on extra stuff?
What is the background check?
Huh?
It's not included.
But I'm saying they're already doing the background check, right?
Right.
And that's $600. Why can't they include the fingerprinting in there?
That's right. All I'm saying, all we're saying is, don't put another fee on to them. Make them just include that it's something they're already doing. That's what we're saying.
Hold on, we're trying to get that legal fee off.
Am I making sense?
Yeah. Okay, gentlemen, is this asking, are you wanting an amendment to amendment, which would say that her grandfather, if you will, the administrators is the amendment, but then what you're also asking that any new fingerprint cost would be absorbed through the existing fee.
Right.
That's what you're offering.
Right.
That would be amendment to the amendment.
Right.
Okay. everybody,
Please don't abide anyway.
so everybody on the Zoom here, so the gentleman from Washington is that, amendment to amendment, which would allow grandfather in the current, administrators, and then secondly, any fee that would be cost, fingerprint would be absorbed by the current fee the administrator is already paying. Is that,
Yes, sir.
okay? Any questions, and Lady Lincoln, that answered, that solve your problem, your question, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions from the people on the Zoom? Okay. Any questions here? What is your? 1 second. Yeah. So it's gonna be. Yes, so we're going to give them in the first. Yes, so your motion, lady?
Yes,
We got to vote on my amendment.
Yes, yes.
All the questions.
Okay, so this is all in favor of the gentleman from Washington amendment to the amendment, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. And then, Lady Jones, your amendment is to grandfather and the attorney will get the correct terminology, but grandfather existing nursing home in. And your, just Lady,
yes.
sufficient.
Yes.
Yes, so we all be the meeting, so. Okay, all in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, good discussion, everyone. Okay, next bill. Is House Bill 160, which is the State Department of Health review bill. And I'm going to handle that. And I will tell you that I spoke with Dr. Dollops, Jim Craig, who was from Lincoln County, and it's the lady Lincoln knows. They were doing a wonderful job the last year and a half. Everything going on. I've got an overview of vaccines, what is going on there. They don't need changes to their current bill. They're just asking that it be repealed, that we can repeal it for that agency. So we can go in detail by section, but again, this is the large Department of Health agency. So that is the explanation of it. And so I'll open up for questions from the floor over here first. The lady from Jones has a question.
Yes, on the vaccinations, is it anyone that we get a briefing from Dr. House, the Public Health Committee? So we get a little bit more specific direction on that?
Yes, ma'am. I'm trying to work with that. I will tell you, I told them last couple of days about today's meeting, tomorrow's meeting. And I will tell you that the process changes day to day. As he said today, the appropriations meeting, they usually get their dosage on Thursdays, and they are relying on the federal government to provide them with those vaccines. And so some weeks they have with others, and some and others, but yes, just like I to try to let him give some perspective of what's going on with the vaccines.
I was going to try to say
The gentleman from Washington.
Quick question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
What is the limit, I might have missed it, what is the limit of terms of the members of the board? Can they?
6 years.
6 years? Are they supposed to be reinstated at the end of 6 years, or will be by?
Say that question, Madam Chairman?
So, you serve 6 years, can the government reappoint you?
Yes, sir. Yeah. That has happened for years. Now,
In light of what has been taking place in the healthcare arena, do you think that's prudent to allow people to have 12 years inside of a system that is currently changing? Should we have fresh eyes, fresh ears looking? I wouldn't violate this, but I do think people being reappointed over and over again is a problem, and public health deterred, but I'm not gonna create havoc right now. I want you to think on that before we go to the floor.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So I'm going to go with that amendment. I do think it is difficult at times for the government to find people that want to serve, that understand military policy. And when you find someone that wants to serve for the right reasons, I think that person can serve at least. No, sir. There are people on that board today that are very qualified. The lady Lincoln knows that as well. So I appreciate your call for question. Okay, any questions from people on the Zoom about the Department of Health's extended paper? Motion is not sufficient to pass. All in favor say aye. All opposed, motion carries. Okay, the next item, one second, we have another date on Zoom. So that you, okay, can we hear? Okay, can you please say something? Okay, can you say something?
Y'all are so muffled talking, I can't, if you're talking to me, I can't understand y'all.
Say it again, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you all. Is it working there?
Get Missy to count to 25.
What if I can't count to 25?
Okay, Missy, can you hear me?
And am I up?
Okay, we're gonna get started. Very good job, Zoom team. Okay, don't go far, Larry. Okay, the next bill is House Bill 174. This is the Board of Nursing issue. I'd like to recognize Elizabeth Jones. And real quick, ladies and Morris, can you still hear us?
I can.
Okay, we hear you. Thank you. All right, Elizabeth Jones, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, this is a bill that was requested by the Mississippi Board of Nursing. Basically, what happens is when they sign.
Can't hear him.
Can you hear me now?
Not really.
Okay, Missy, can you hear Donnie?
Can.
So I can hear him, it's just so muffled. Is that, do you hear that? Is it muffled to you?
Yes.
And I hate to tell you, it may be the mask, I don't know.
No, it's the room. It's a big echoey room, and the mic system in there is not translating well over Zoom.
Any better now, Ben?
Okay, Becky, can you hear me?
Well, you are muffled, but I go ahead. I think I can keep up anyway, but I'm going to have many questions on this bill.
Okay, Lady Jonathan Jones, you're recognized.
This bill comes to us from the Board of Nursing, and basically what happens is that when they find a nurse that is not compliant with the laws or having issues, they usually need to bring that person in. What the Board of Nursing has found is that the technicalities.
Microphone.
Technicalities and all the legalities it's costing a lot of money in order to bring in expert witnesses. What they have asked for is on a nurse that has a disciplinary hearing, the first violation, that the Board of Nursing is able to charge anywhere from $250 to $500 to $1,000 for that first violation to bring in witnesses subpoenas and court reporters and things like that. On the second violation, they're asking for anywhere from $500 up to $5,000, depending on the amount of expenses that are incurred. This money will go back into the general fund, but it will also not be just a random money. We'll go through the Attorney General's office, make sure that money is adequate. I will say we did pass this bill last year to help incur expenses on the person who's in violation. However, it did not come out of the
Testing, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2.
Okay, so we're going to recognize first a gentleman from Washington.
So, the agency is charging the person that they are charging for the expert that they need, what you say. So, let me break down something. You're accusing me, and you're charging me with your expert. That's what's happening. That's enough.
Yes, but if I can add, there also
Brett, unmute your microphone.
orders, subpoena issues, and investigation.
Say something. Say something again.
In your court of law, none whatsoever is a person who is being charged or made an accusation with responsibility.
Okay, Tony, say something.
It doesn't happen.
No.
Why would you be getting that kind of?
Oh,
This is bad policy, Mr. If we're going, if I bring charges against, gentleman from Jones, and he's gonna pay my investigator, he's gonna pay my expert witnesses and all that stuff. No. I gotta prove your case and my case.
Okay, Lincoln.
Thank you. So we did pass this bill, and I was not happy about it last year at all, but we cut this fee in half, and now you've come back with it again. And I want to say to the Board of Nursing, I'm sure they're listening, is that I know that Donnie is new and shiny and sweet, and that I'm old and crusty and mean, but you ought to talk to me about these things that you want to get passed, because and you know, to be caught off guard with this again coming back over, and the Senate did an excellent job not passing it again. But everybody and I've been on the Board of Nursing, so everybody's on a salary. Your investigator's on a salary, and of the 5 years that I was on the board under Haley Barber, I never one time did we subpoena an expert witness. So, you know, maybe this won't happen often, but if we're going to pass the bill, then I'd like to put an amendment at the proper time.
Not only, when talking with the Board of Nursing, my only information is that other professional boards, the Board of Medicine, the Board of Pharmacy, Board of Dentistry, all have this in place, and they do charge the suspected person these extra fees. Board of Nursing is one of the only ones that doesn't have this in place, and it's probably a bit of money.
I could barely hear, but I think I heard that doctors and dentists, but you have an LPN out there making, you know, $25,000 a year. You know, we're not in the pharmacist dentist category, you know.
Lady from Lincoln, I'll tell you
Yes.
what we're going to do is what we've done before in the past several years, try to make sure this group is on the same page. And so we will just, set this aside today, and we may or may not address it in the future. So we appreciate y'all's questions. And now we're bringing this to our attention, and we'll have some more discussions.
Thank you.
200. And this is dealing with remote monitoring, telemedicine. And in the past, we had to have 2 hospital stays for the provider to authorize remote monitoring. This is a good program. I've seen it. We talk about lowering healthcare costs and having better healthcare outcomes. This is the way we can do this. So online, 99, all it does is delete the 2 stays for hospital before this can be ordered. So that is the explanation of the bill, and I will ask to take any questions and lay for Jones to ask questions.
Mr. Chairman, since we're going to delete the 2 hospitalization requirements, I would like to offer an amendment to the committee to require that the assessments shall be done as opposed to may be done. Since this is remote monitoring of people that are ill and they would not be in the hospital. So if we require that they do plan of care, do the pressure, the risk factors, and all of those things, that all of them can be make sure that it's updated, so that what we're doing in telemedicine to care for these people is the most recent assessment of their health condition. So if we give them the 2, then we ought to get them to require them that they will do the plan of care and those things are happening.
Now speak to
Gentleman from Washington recognized.
the gentlelady Jones is absolutely correct. In the state of Florida, in the state of California, they have been using RPM and has been very productive tracking and reducing issues, especially diabetes and high blood pressure. And they even talk about going down with mental health issues. So this is a great action, and we're going to cut down costs and businesses. So this will be a cost saving benefit. I wouldn't be arguing with you if I didn't know the hard about this, but it has a huge cost saving, especially cancer patients. Cancer patients in California, they've been tracking this with them for about 2 years. So this really, you're actually more good. I promote you to progressiveness in this one.
Thank you, gentlemen. So let me speak to your amendment, any person for your amendment. So the goal policy is for this person not to have to be in the hospital. And so if you look online, 100 through 106, so it will speak to how that person will get this order. So this order will be from a provider that is aware of that patient's condition. And so I want to just check to see if we go to shall. We don't want to make it harder for the medical community to order this. And so
Mr. Chairman, it will not be hard. Let me just say to you the reason, the main reason why we want to do this is because we are eliminating the 2 hospitalization requirements.
Just fine.
Somebody's go to the hospital multiple times and they're really an updated assessment. It's not required.
Every time
So we just want to make sure that plan of care was done. Is being done as is being outlined here.
So, but it does sound like you want to go back to the current law. You know, you want to take 2 days, stay. You want to go back to the PA prioritization.
Two things that any request may include the following. All I'm saying is that they
Can you hear me?
get the prior authorization.
Okay.
They be required telemonitoring, but they do not have to have the 2 hospitalization requirement, which is what you want to get. All I'm saying is for the protection of the patient, let us make sure that the correct assessment is being done, and that we want them to shall do it and not have the option of doing some of it, not doing all of it, because all of this is critical.
Since we're a little more formal, what if you change your amendment and said, that they shall offer a plan of care? That way, before, when the person with the position authorizes.
John is not putting it in the chair. John is talking about, the services, the revenue savings in money. I mean, when you look at all the things that they're requiring, are showing the diagnoses, they want to make sure that that it is the exact person that's getting the services, so we look down in here at these things that they're outlining. This is good policy. All we're saying is that you should do this. We're not asking you to say the person has to be hospitalized. What we're saying is that you should do this to make sure that person is being, everything is being cared for, everything is on there's no fraud, and I think this is good policy.
So Larry, why don't you, I would ask you to withdraw your amendments that you and I discuss the difference discuss the difference between shall and what that requires. You and I will get this fixed before tomorrow's meeting. Okay. All right. We have any more questions on the floor? I see the gentleman from the south has a question. You need to unmute yourself, gentleman from the south.
If you were referring to me, Mr. Chairman, that was, I accidentally left the raised hand up from the last bill.
Okay, any questions on House Bill 200 then? Okay, motion is title sufficient to do pass. All in favor say aye. All opposed, the motion carries. Next bill is House Bill 208. Recognize the lady from Forest.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This House Bill 208 is the act that provides licensure for the psychologists that practice in the state of Mississippi. And the bill seeks to do two things. One, to extend the repealer to July of 2025. And also at their request, at the Board of Psychology's request, they have asked us if we would remove one requirement for licensure, and that is a postdoctoral fellowship requirement that is not required in many other states and many of our neighboring states. I've talked to them several times, and they believe that we are at a disadvantage in recruiting psychologists to Mississippi at a time when we have a shortage of psychologists, and at a time when mental health is really a critical issue for our state, and access to care is obviously very important to us as a legislature. So, for example, the state of Alabama does not have this additional requirement that after a psychologist receives their PhD, they still must have a one-year fellowship after that. And so they are asking that we would just remove that one additional requirement so that they are more competitive in recruiting psychologists to come to the state of Mississippi. And that is my explanation of the bill, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, lady. Any questions on her bill? I don't see anything from this room. Anybody on the Zoom meeting? Okay, lady, what's your motion?
Motion is title sufficient, do pass.
All in favor say aye. All opposed, motion carries. Good job. All right, the next bill is House Bill 294. Recognize the lady from Lincoln. Becky, can you hear us?
Yeah, for her job.
Can't hear you, Sam. You're muffled.
Yes, I can unmute. Would you like to call up House Bill 294? Because you're not even on the screen anymore. We didn't vote on the last one, did we? Sam, wave if you can hear me. I can't hear you. Would you like me to go on with the bill? Okay, so the committee chair has called up House Bill 294. And if he'll wave at me, I'll go. All right. This bill, House Bill 294, we passed this last year, and it is the authority for hospice medical directors to provide controlled substances for patients. And we have gone a year with absolutely no problems and no complaints. And this bill is just removing the repealer, so we don't have to talk about it again. And my motion is title sufficient, do pass.
Okay, can y'all hear me now?
We can.
All right, I'm just on another Zoom. So,
Yeah.
okay, so is any questions about the lady's motion? All right, so no questions on here. Any questions on the Zoom? Okay, so what's your motion, lady?
Title sufficient, do pass.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good job. Okay, the next bill is House Bill 296, and I recognize a lady from Lincoln.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill authorizes the State Department of Health to issue up to 2 new pediatric palliative care hospice license. It also requires that one of them be within the 2nd United States Congressional District, as they have been underserved with pediatric hospice. The department shall process the applications for new pediatric palliative care hospice license and shall issue no more than 2. And this bill shall stand repealed until July 1st, 2027. And that is my explanation of the bill.
Okay. Any questions from the floor, in the chamber, or the Capitol? I guess no. Any questions for people on Zoom?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, sir. Gentleman from DeSoto.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand. I'm all fine with allowing more of these centers if they're needed. Why do we have a moratorium on them at all? Why can't the health department just make the decision without being limited by us?
Well, let me say that I was here when this happened, and at the time, the State Department of Health came to us, the Public Health Committee, and said, we have a problem with, these are not CONs, this is a moratorium, and they were opening up on every corner. And the problem was that the State Department of Health could not get out to inspect them. They were opening up, and the 96% of hospice care in 2019, I do not have 2020's numbers, but was Medicaid and Medicare. And so what happened was they opened up, they did give patients poor care, they run up millions and millions of dollars of bills in the community, because you have to have a pharmacy that you contract with, home hospital equipment, you need a hospital bed, oxygen, whatever it is. And these, they left Owen nursing homes and hospitals huge amount of money. They'd stay open for 2 years, go bankrupt and leave the area and open up somewhere else, and nobody could ever keep up with them. So we had 100, the year that we did that, we had 163 hospices. And I can tell you that there's not enough patients dying with 6 months or left to live to do that now. We have right at 100 now, and I can't tell you enough the fraud and abuse that was going on. I'll give you one example. I had a doctor who I know well, and he called me cussing me out because one of the hospice companies, and you have to understand, they have to have patients in order to pay their employees and have money coming in, went and got a man off a tractor and said, you deserve this, you paid for this. And he called his doctor mad, saying, why in the world have you not got me on this program before? And he said, well, did I miss the fact that you're not dying? And I'm just telling you, the stories were nightmares. So the moratorium was put on there in order to be able to go out yearly and make sure that we, audit and make sure that these folks are doing the right things. And since we put that moratorium on, I will tell you that we've had very, very little complaints from anyone. And when we see the need, just like we see it now, then we'll pass the okay. But that's how we got the moratorium.
Thank you for the explanation. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And if I might add, lady from Lincoln, gentleman from DeSoto, I mean, I realize there are good friends who have different opinions of CONs.
Testing.
And parts of the CON. But this is really different.
Testing.
You've got some Medicare issues that there's a cap penalty. And so there is truly data that shows once the moratorium was put in, that the Medicare cap / draw went down. And so there is a significant reason to monitor the hospice companies. And so I would say it is different than the CON overall issue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, or Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any other questions? What's your motion, lady?
Title sufficient, do pass.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The last one, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate everybody being so patient today, especially all of us who are not into this technology, but we're surviving it. The next bill is Senate Bill 2021. It is a Senate bill. If you remember, I'm getting too excited. Okay. You remember last year we passed the mental health coordinator, really to coordinate the mental health regions, which is about 14 to 15 of them, with the Department of Mental Health. And this really was, I think, a piece of legislation that a lot of people worked on. There was this, toward the end of the session, we should have made it a little bit better. We should have tweaked it, but of course we were dealing with COVID and everything else. So we had it where the director was hired by DFA, but he was housed at the Department of Mental Health. We had in the original legislation, the Department of Mental Health had to sign off on who that person hired, which didn't make sense. So now everything is housed at DFA. DFA will be the one who helps determine who that person can hire or not. And so it makes sense. We should have done this before. And then secondly, it does allow the person for 2 years to hire a contract employee based on who he wants to hire without going through the state personnel board. It is a time-sensitive issue because, as a lady from Lincoln will know, they weren't able to really follow through with everything they need to do in the original legislation, like going through the peer committee, because people weren't hired. So this person just started, I think, maybe early January. So now he will go through the peer committee report, as it's stated, but they can't hire anybody really until this legislation gets passed. So that's why we need to get this passed so they can hire the people to start really coordinating these mental health regions and determining which ones need to be improved and how to improve. So that is the explanation of the bill. I will be happy to answer any questions. Lady,
thank you. So this is the czar that we talked about last year, and it didn't get done until October, which really did not give them the time. But I just want to make sure that peer is still in it, because I didn't see it in the bill.
No, ma'am, because we talked to council, because I knew you were going to ask that question. So the original bill is on line 168. So what this is just amending that bill. So the issue with peer is still in the bill, and so they will follow that law. And again, the reason they didn't last time was just because of the time frame of hiring that person. So I think we created a good bill. We should have done this, but we just didn't. So this is making it even better.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions? Okay. Any questions from the floor here? The motion is title sufficient to pass. All in favor say aye. All opposed, motion carries. So I want to thank y'all again for sitting through this. I know this is the longest subcommittee. Hopefully tomorrow when we have a full public health committee, we'll be able to go a little quicker. And so I appreciate y'all's patience on this. And I hope to see everybody tomorrow at 11 o'clock, full public health committee. And again, thank you. If you need anything from me the next, either tonight or in the morning, please let me know. And we are adjourned. Thank y'all.